practices on the theme of inside the dialogue guidelines and how they bring the Dhamma alive. So without further ado, I will pass the floor to Kevin now.
Changing for your being agreed to be our Zoom host, the Zoom driver today. So I'm very glad to be here. So just want to say a warm welcome and hi to everyone from good morning to our friends from Europe, including Ayya, Ariane, and Lola, and then our friends from this part of the world in Asia Pacific. We are at 4 o'clock in the afternoon in the China Standard Time or Hong Kong time. So my name is Kevin. Some of us we have met. Some it is the first time that we meet, perhaps. I'm actually based in Beijing at the moment, or even though originally I'm also from Hong Kong. So I'm very glad to have these opportunities to share and practice with you all from all over the world, of course, except North America, because they are actually in the middle of the night sleeping. Just a few words perhaps to introduce myself, and then I will have a chance to do the same thing to welcome us all. As I mentioned, that Kevin was my name, and actually I was first touched by Dharma back when I was working in Vietnam in 1995, so quite nearly 30 years ago. But then I was really only become more serious in meditation after I moved to Beijing in 2005, which also coincide with a difficult period of mine when I have to deal with chronic insomnia, and through which I got to learn about suffering firsthand. But then because of that situation, that really got me interested and got very intimate with the understanding and investigation of suffering. And then I got a taste of relational mindfulness from my training in Boston, in the University of Massachusetts Center for Mindfulness, in doing my MBSR teacher training. So, and then I start doing or practicing Insight Dialogue back in, 10 years ago now, from 2014. And I was hooked, and I really enjoy and love this practice ever since. And since then, actually, I really feel that the value for relational Dharma, relational mindfulness practice, not so that, it's not only practicing by oneself sitting on a cushion, but really interacting and practicing and living and breathing the Dharma together. And that's why, Insight Dialogue has been very meaningful for me. And I'm just really glad to have this opportunity to share that with you all. And that for that same reason, I met Ayya in 2019 in Boston, again, in BCB as a retreat with Gregory, when we met, and then we have been able to learn together in the last few years. And then today I'm very excited to be practicing and co-facilitating this with Ayya. So on that note, I'll pass it to Ayya to say hi to everyone. So Ayya, please, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. And again, warm welcome to everyone who has now joined in the last 2 or 3 minutes. I think Lydia and June, warm welcome to everyone. And yeah, as Kevin just said, it's so nice. I feel really joy of being here together, and particularly to having been able with Kevin to prepare for this session, as we have met 2019 the first time, and again now we're 2024, nearly 5 years later, and kind of offering Insight Dialogue practice together in this context across continents. It just fills me with joy. And again, if we wouldn't have had Gregory and BCBS in the practice, Kevin and myself, who knows, would have maybe never met. So it's one of these conditions having come together and which led us to be here now. So my name is Ayya Anopama, and I ordained as a Theravadan Buddhist nun in Burma about 12 years ago. And before I'm originally from Germany. I lived in the UK, and then I left the UK for Asia many years back. And I had been practicing meditation, but it was only when I came to Burma that a whole world opened up in terms of what is Vipassana practice and all kind of different methods. So that was basically my monastic birthplace, and where I spent several years. And then from there, I came back to the West in 2016 and was exposed to the Western Dharma landscape in its diversity, which has been a very interesting journey. And in that journey, I spent quite a bit in the US, also in India, in Australia, and came across the beautiful practice of insight dialogue. In fact, while I was still in Burma, one of my Dharma sisters, who was at the time a nun, she shared with me when we talked about communication, well, just the 6 guidelines. And I was really intrigued and fascinated. So when I then was sitting in the Forest Refuge in Boston, I met Gregory, who was also doing a retreat there. And this way I was introduced to the practice and have been very inspired ever since. And especially also what Kevin said, coming off a silent retreat and then doing insight dialogue. My intention or my understanding what it's about, mindful listening and speaking. But in the end, it turned out that it's as powerful, if not sometimes even more, to develop insight together and through each other. And this was for me the kind of hook where I got hooked. And now I'm here over the years, and having had the opportunity to practice with a lot of different people from across the globe, which I feel also is very inspiring through this practice. We are bringing the practice right into the relationship. So I shall pause here and look forward for practicing together. Hand it back to Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayya. And again, we have seen some friends who have dropped in, but obviously maybe the connection was not very good, so there was some in and out. But for whoever is here now, or will maybe watching in the recording in the future, so again, welcome. And you know, after hearing just a little bit of what Ayya and I, where we came from, we actually would also like at this moment, you know, inviting a short pause to see first of all how we are, and perhaps I have normally we'll do a check-in, but we still do it, but because we have got quite a few things prepared to investigate and inquire with each other during the practice. So we'll probably do this kind of like check-in, hearing each other's voice in a little bit different format. I'll just see, you know, what is happening as you hear me saying we will do it differently. Do you notice anything? Any curiosity? But in fact, actually, I have got a very simple invitation or question for us to share with each other, if possible, via the chat. You know, we seldom use that in Insight Dialogue, but maybe seeing how it might feel if we do that. And the little invitation and question is, given that we are from different time zone, I'm just wondering, do you still remember, do you recall, what were you doing just right before you joined this practice session? Simple enough. What were you doing? You know, given some of us is in the morning, some of us is in the afternoon. If you can condense it to a word or two, and if you want, share that in the chat. And then using that, you know, dialogue is not only word, but it also come in many different form. So, and also as you hear this invitation, how you feel now? It is unconventional invitation of using the chat to recall what you were doing just before you joined this. We can see that a few of us have already shared, like sending a message, checking on computer, making dessert for parents. Wow, very glad for them, very happy for them. And stroking the cat, how did that feel? Hang on laundry, enjoying the sun. And not only whether you inputting or not, as you listen to me repeating some of the things that we are doing right before we do this. Oh, Lola's saying, oh, studying English. Yeah, very early, to study English, right? Given the time of the day where you are. So just noticing we were all doing something else before this. So coming on to this practice for this next 90 minutes, isn't it like a pause that punctuates our day from whatever we were doing, transitioning into this period of practice? Think about it and feel into it. Have we paused from whatever we were doing into this moment? And upon hearing this invitation, when you're recalling, typing this into the chat box, was there another short period of pause to recall, to notice, what were you doing and how are you feeling now? Or isn't that mindfulness? Pause, allow for mindfulness. And the pause could also interrupt, punctuate our day, whatever we're doing, and then bring us into this moment, just like right now. Now, given the overarching theme of this year's Sunday Sangha is to focus on the relationship between Insight Dialogue guidelines and Buddhist wisdom teachings. So today, it doesn't take a genius to know that probably we are going to investigate pause as a supporting guideline for us to go to explore the underlying forces and aspiration that propel us to practice and to stay on this path, with the related causes and conditions, and see what might we discover when we do this investigation deliberately. And as such, Ayya and I will take turns to guide us through the several contemplations that we prepare together. And then in the meantime, we'll use the voice podcast. Once you go into the diet breakout room, we will be using the voice broadcast to guide us through the process one by one. And also, the time will bring us back to the main room in the middle, so to give further instruction. So those would be kind of the process that we would do. Now, should you have any problem hearing the voice broadcast or any problem with the breakout room, so I would suggest you, first of all, you can ask for help from your partner. And otherwise, you can press the help button. So we'll wait for us to come into the room to give you support. Or if it's something a bit more urgent and you don't want to wait, you can also come back to the main room. Okay? So there's a different way for us to work together in this process to support you to go through this investigation together. So promise you, we will guide you along the way, but also please be patient with us. We will be playing with this technology a little bit, Ayya and I and Sing Ching together. So on that note, maybe it's time for us to have a different kind of pause to really sink into the mindfulness of this moment. And on that, I would like to pass to Ayya to guide us through some initial practice. Ayya, please.
So just resting in the pause and noticing as we're hearing the words that I'm guiding into meditation. Question is, are we already meditating or are we about to meditate? What's the difference between just listening to the voice of my and the sounds of my voice, seeing each other on the screen, and to meditation? So perhaps the pause has already invited us to be a bit more attentive to what's happening right here in the moment and letting go of what might have happened before coming to this practice, even the moment before Kevin spoke. So if you feel like for the next 10-15 minutes to adjust your posture to be more comfortable, feel free to do so. So right there in the pause, we can invite the relax, the ease, the volitional, intentional possibility to adjust the body to be more comfortable. And if it's more comfortable to you to close your eyes, that's fine as well. But let's see whether we can let the pause continue, whether we have the eyes open or closed. Meditation is already there. Awareness is already there. And sometimes it helps to provide a firm posture, at the same time relaxed. And as I say, for some, the eyes closed, just to minimize perhaps for a moment the sense input. And it brings perhaps the focus or the attention a little bit more internal, but at the same time our senses are still open, otherwise you wouldn't be able to hear my voice. And a good way to support ourselves in the pause, to come back right here in this moment, is to allow the attention to check in with the body. It's always a good reminder of we're only here in this moment. We can't be with our bodies in the future or in the past. So what's the life in the body right now as you're sitting? And as I'm asking this question, already the attention goes to the body, and perhaps there's this quality which comes along in the pause of curiosity, of a kind of internal listening. How am I doing in the body? Your attention might perhaps go to any specific place in the body, or it may just notice the whole of the body sitting without any particular location, perhaps just sensing the weight or the heaviness, the force of gravity, the seat on the chair, on the cushion, wherever you are, perhaps the contact with the feet. Or perhaps there's just a sense or just a knowing body is sitting. We don't have to do much to know that. It's already there. And in a way, this listening internally for what's happening, the life in the body, the pause is being established every moment afresh, or perhaps it becomes continuous. noticing the shifts of sensations in the body, perhaps shifts of feeling tone. Bodily processes, and perhaps the breathing. So not directing the attention anywhere particularly, but just allowing the pause, the awareness and attention to be wide open, receptive to what's already here. Perhaps you may notice there might be an impulse or an underlying urge, perhaps to do something. If so, can you notice it? And the moment we notice we know it, we don't have to follow it. So this is a mental layer which we are perhaps observing in the mind, the movement of the mind, a particular thought which comes with the bodily urge or sensation of the tendency of having to get somewhere perhaps. But right now, all we are doing is just allowing the knowing to happen in the pause. Whether the attention is resting in the body or including the noticing of the mind movements, thoughts, moods, emotions perhaps which are present. And even those might be changing as you're pausing. And at any given time, if you find the mind becoming engulfed, entrenched, or be carried away by one of these tentative thought streams, right there, you're back again. The moment you notice that you have been carried away or caught up, you interrupted the flow of being caught up, the pause already established by recognizing that you're back here, knowing what's happening. This is the practice of pause. Just allowing for the next few minutes in silence to continue the practice of noticing and knowing what's already here, this body and mind, and noticing and knowing when you're caught up and recognizing that right there, you're back here.
With the sound of the bell, no need to rush, but perhaps noticing. Perhaps you may want to slowly move the body and perhaps open your eyes, taking in your surroundings. And even as you take in your surrounding, noticing the quality of pause, noticing what do you take in? The shape, the color, the form, the light, and that was made available by the pause. And also, how do you feel internally, perhaps? The mind was busy, getting less busy, or more busy? How is it? That knowing. that's available to you just right now. See for yourself. We're not looking for, searching for, fishing for anything, just noticing what is. You know, if you're drinking the water or tea, can you feel the color, the temperature, just right now? And interestingly, that whatever we experience right now is the result of this pausing. But interestingly, that is also a volitional, as Ayya mentioned, a volitional choice, a condition that we make for ourselves, so that we turn into change our body posture and allow the 15 minutes that we just set to become aware of what is. That is the guideline pause. But as well as for us to notice the causes and conditions, the volitional causes and conditions that we create right now. And or if some of your room where you are during the sit, there was some external noise that affect your sitting, those are conditions that also happen present, which is not something that we can change, but just happen, and then we also take it in. Pause and mindfulness can become aware of that as the space to hold it all. So interestingly, you know, this volitional pause, volitional mindful sort of awareness, it is something that is available to any one of us, as something that we can affect and in a way allow ourselves as a conditions. So as we move on to the three different layers of contemplation today, we will explore this kind of causes and conditions. How does it unfold? We all learn about this Buddhist teaching about causes and conditions is the key teaching in the Buddhist teachings. But can we actually see it, feel it, embrace this whole process unfolding? How do we know it? So see how it really touch our life right here, right now. It's not a notional future, not in the book, but here and now. So as such, the first invitation for us to practice with our partner would be, can you please kind of like recall and look into what actions, what preparation have you done or put in place in order for you to join this session? Whether it's physical condition that you created or how you prepare yourself mentally. What did you influence? How do you influence the causes and conditions for you to be here today? Earlier, we saw a few friends of ours who came in and then dropped out. Maybe it's the internet connection. Maybe it's a lot of reason why they could not stay. So, but for us to be able to be here, a lot has gone right for us to be in here. So what have you volitionally did? For example, as I pause, I've noticed that for me, I walk my dog earlier than usual time so that I can free up this time for me to be here. And I also allow myself to meditate for 20 minutes before the session begins, so I could have more sort of like stability. So this is for me. Definitely it will be different for you. Like if it is more your morning time, how have you set your alarm clock to remind you? Did you have to get up earlier to have an earlier breakfast? Do you have to inform your family members that you will be engaging in this 90 minutes period? So what really have you done and prepared for this? So as we go into the room, we will be having one speaker and one listener. Take your time using pause to support you to remember and recount what have you actually prepared physically or mentally in order to practice, to come to these practice sessions. And as we all practiced insight dialogue before, so I will leave it to you to decide who is the first speaker, who is the second speaker. And then I will be using the voice broadcast to give you the timing on the change over to the second speaker. Okay, as mentioned, if you have any problem, you raise the help button, or you can come back to the main room. Okay, so again, very simply, just pause to notice and name all actions or preparation that has contributed to you joining this practice session. Very simple, but is it simple? Pause and notice what arises for you. So with the sound of the bell, I'll invite Ching Ching to send us into our diet practice room. And then after you decide who go first and second, please do go ahead. So I won't interrupt you anymore apart from this particular bell. So Ching Ching, please. Right. So we can perhaps pause the recording. Ching Ching, please. Thank you.
Just to say, I think Chung is by himself.
Did this bell invite a pause? What showed up in this pausing? After listening to yourself and listening to your partner's sharing of what action and preparation has been done, which is right here between the co-meditators, what do you notice and how do you feel when you see and name all these action and preparations done by yourself, consciously or perhaps now realize less consciously? And with all these actions and preparation, can you actually see perhaps the deeper underlying forces, impetus that led you in taking these actions and preparations? And can you also sense not only the reasoning and the force, how did that make you feel? Bodily, mentally. If you allow this space of pause to support you, would you notice anything more than the rational mind's idea? How's it feeling, the underlying impetus, perhaps the aspirations that make these actions and choices for you? And can you name it? For example, if you go beneath the surface, actions and preparation, you may see that the underlying impetus or aspiration could be something very wholesome, like how practicing to learn, to see more clearly, to become more free. Or you want to join this session for the spiritual friendships, to enhance that. However, at times, with the presence of all that, you may also notice there could be some interpersonal hunger, the longing and wanting to connect, to be seen and be heard. Or even as a way to run away from whatever is bothering you recently or just now. With the space provided by pause, what could be there just beneath the surface? So in the following contemplation, we will release the form of the one speaker, one listener. We invite you into open dialogue between the two of you to explore what do you see as the deeper underlying forces, impetus that led you to take this action and preparation. What do you sense? How do you feel? And can you name it to your partner? With pause, noticing what is arising here, now, as you look into this. Do pause generously for yourself and for your partner. How is this pause now? With this pause, we'll be bringing you back to the main room for the next layer of contemplations, and you will be returning to the same partner afterward. So in the next 30 seconds of countdown, you can continue this sitting, pausing, or whatever you have to say with your partner, you can do that too. So we will see you back in the main room in 30 seconds.
And Kevin, you want to make me a host?
Yes, yes. Here you are. Please make me back the co-host. Thank you.
So just noticing what are the conditions now and what are we noticing being back here together in this room. And even now, how this exploration into causes and conditions and the underlying forces may have shaped your experience in this moment of seeing each other, perhaps differently, perhaps even sensing and perceiving yourself differently after you have spoken and listened and looked a little bit underneath the surface. So what's perhaps the impetus and the impulse right now when we see each other? And perhaps there is something present which wants to understand or wants to get or wants to receive. And that's fine. You just recognize. So in this last layer, we want to stay underneath the surface and perhaps widen it a little bit out. This kind of impetus and impulse which drives us to take action or to lean forward or to make decision or to influence conditions. So whatever may have come up for you in the exploration with your partner, sometimes there can be this, I want to be here because you have confidence in the practice. You have experienced the benefit of this practice, and this makes you of deciding to turn up, to show up. And sometimes there might be also, I'm doing this and I don't really know why I'm doing this because I just put it in my diary and that's why I'm here. And that's also okay. Or sometimes we come here together because we may feel lonely and it gives us a sense of Sangha. So our motivations or our underlying impulses may be mixed. There might be some very subtle desire leaning towards craving or the social hungers, as Kevin meant. And there might be also the underlying inspiration or aspiration to practice, the desire for awakening, the desire for liberation, the desire to come out of suffering. And again, we are not here to judge or evaluate, but we're just here to see in the pause what's actually operating. And when we see what is operating, we have a choice. We're not to condemn, but we can choose to flow in the current of what we can call chanda. Chanda in the sense of supporting our awakening, our path to freedom, our path for liberation. So this quality, this mental factor of chanda, it can be neutral, it can be wholesome, it can be unwholesome, but mostly it's used in the context of supporting our awakening. And it's part of some of the lists in the Buddhist teachings right at the beginning, for example, of the Iddhipadas, the spiritual powers, which actually give motor. It gives the impetus to action. So there is chanda, the desire. And when there's chanda, there's also effort. But it's not an effort which we just effort because we have to put in strength. It's arising from this motivation for wholesomeness, for awakening, for action. So this concept, this factor, chanda, we all can bring up and we can practice it. And it's translated as interest or desire to act, also as aspiration or even zeal, leaning into the quality of resolution, which can be very wholesome and very helpful. So Ajahn Sucitto, one of the great Thai forest meditation masters in the Ajahn Chah tradition, he describes chanda as a desire, as an eagerness to offer, to commit, to apply oneself to the practice. This is called chanda. It's a psychological yes, a choice. In fact, you could summarize the Dhamma training as the transformation of tanha, craving, into chanda. So while chanda is perhaps focused more on a result of an action, tanha wants to get, wants to be, wants to become, wants to get rid of. Whereas chanda just wants to do. It doesn't ask for any result. And this chanda is so important because it gives us the impetus and the motivation for our aspiration. Why are we doing this? And when we are clear about it, and the more we can practice, the more it's informing our choices, what we are doing, how we are doing. So whatever your aspiration might be, just notice how this chanda might be operating in you. So in this last layer, we're going back with our partner, open dialogue, and look again at this driving force, the impulse underneath, which energizes you, which encourages you, and how it's been showing up, how it's supporting you to be here with even your partner. How might it even influence your interaction and practice in the breakout room, the way you speak, the way you listen, the way you may be even available to your partner? Can you sense that? and name it, and perhaps even see how it orients your actions and your life in that direction. So be curious, just inviting the pause and seeing in the pause how it's operating right now in the sharing and exploration with your partner. Chanda being the first factor of the Iddhipadas, which lead to investigation. So we can right there see it as it's operating. See for yourself, inviting you back into the pause and exploring chanda. Pause before and after you speak, and allowing yourself this pause to be the conditional factor to even sense into this chanda. What's its quality, and is it here right now? So just letting go, whatever is still lingering in your mind. Perhaps it is this quality of chanda, perhaps it's tanha, perhaps it's both. And just noticing the current in the body. What is your felt sense of what moves you, drives you right now at hearing the bell? Or perhaps what is being let go of? So we will be coming back to the main hall. So in these last few seconds, perhaps you want to take the opportunity to appreciate the presence of your partner. Without them, you were not able to do the practice, and perhaps express your gratitude. And we're coming back to the main hall.
Thank you. I think we will just have a few minutes of gathering of the fruit. Yeah, time passed really quick. Welcome, welcome back, friends. Yes, I think we are all here. Welcome back. Wow, look at the faces. If you're like me, looking at the gallery view, how is this moment? What is the pause allowing us to discover? Chanda, tanha, or togetherness, just being known with the support of pause, with mindfulness. Well, in the next few minutes, we will be punctuating our practice with another format, opening to the whole groups. But pause can still be here, supporting us, listening into ourselves, speaking, and listening to each other's discovery or challenge that came with the practice. So when you're ready, because we have so few people, maybe just feeling into the moment and turn on the microphone and then speak into this shared space of ours, and then we'll be practicing pause and listening together. So please, we will welcome everyone's voice into this space.
Thank you so much to all of you for the sharing, and probably there might be perhaps even more, but we are just coming to the end. So, that can be an ongoing exploration. And again, the invitation is really to continue it, that we put the pause there and really sense into what might be mixed motivations. And without judging and condemning it, we are where we are. And some of it, as Maggie just described, some might be really wanting to connect with part of the world population, and suddenly another part is about ourselves to become. And this force is still there. It will linger around for a long time. It's part of our even survival energy motor. So just to acknowledging, but once we see it, we have a choice, and we can nurture, more one or the other strand. And coming now towards the end of this practice, again, we can look back the last hour and a half, what we have practiced, we have committed to, what we have put in place, all the conditions. And that was a volitional, intentional choice. And it was, in a way, also be carrying forward by mixed motivations, but one of them may have been an aspiration for ourselves to practice. And now we can deliberately, intentionally extend this kind of practice to be of benefit, not only for ourselves, but also to all beings. That's an aspiration we can invite, whether we feel it or not, but it can put the ship into a direction, acknowledging we're not doing that only for ourselves. We're doing this practice together and for and with others. So may this practice of ours be a benefit for all beings to bring about peace and freedom in the world. And I hand over to Ching Ching to close us. Thank you so much for Ching Ching and Maggie's support, also to be here supporting us with the Zoom hosting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayya Kevin, for this beautiful offering. And dear friends, thank you for being here, showing up. So if you feel inspired and called to, so you can, in addition to your presence and practice, you can also make a Dhamma offering to Sunday Sangha. So I will share in the chat the link so that you can do so. So please select Sunday Sangha in scrolling down from the menu. Thank you for being here. We practice together for being together.
Well, thank you all. Wish you all a lovely Sunday through day or evening. And for those fortunate enough who can even join the second Sunday Sangha session later on today. So at that time, we will be sleeping in this part of the world. So have a good day, good evening. Thank you, Ayya.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, Anja. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Kevin, Ayya, Ching Ching, and Maggie. Thank you.
Lola,
Thank you, Lola.
Catherine.
Hasta luego.
Have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ciao. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.